Tech News Weekly is sponsored by GoDaddy. Get a .com domain name for only $2.49 by using offer code QUEENS at checkout.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm Andrew Zarian, and this is the show where we discuss everything that happened in technology this week. And not everything, but, you know, the top stuff, the important stuff. With me, as always, is John. How you doing, John?
Hey, Andrew, what's up?
I see you got a new microphone.
I did. I'm trying something new for a change.
Very nice. I actually had a couple questions for you about that mic, and I'm going to ask you in a little bit. But
okay.
We also have a special guest this week. GFQ's very own, the T4 Show's very own, Michael Manna. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great. Does that happen to be the same microphone that Colm uses on the weekly live show, Suncast?
It is.
Yes, it does.
Why?
But it might be going back, so.
Once again, the theory will be proven that with a $30 to $40 microphone, you will still sound better than me with all this junk behind me on a rack. Thanks a lot.
It sounds actually.
I bet
really
it'll
good.
sound better than Comb.
Ooh, he doesn't have his
Same
acoustics.
microphone,
That's
better
Andrew's
than
job.
Comb.
That's Andrew's job to get the acoustics down in his new house and his new studio, which we haven't done yet.
Listen, I've been waiting for him to tell me when he's ready. You know, he told me the project was on hold for a little bit, and I've been waiting.
I think it's mic technique.
It also is mic technique, but let's talk about the mic that you're using. It's an ATR2100. It's a USB and XLR microphone. It sounds phenomenal.
Right now, I'm using the XLR output of it.
You're using it via XLR.
Yeah.
And have you heard any difference between the USB and the XLR?
I haven't played around with it long enough to hear the differences yet. I literally just hooked this up probably 30 minutes before we did this show, so I haven't had a long enough time to figure all that out.
So here's also a little comparison if you guys want to do this. Like I'm a microphone junkie, so I like this stuff. I'm on a $1,200 microphone. You're on a literally a $35 microphone, and Michael's on a $300 microphone.
Yeah.
John probably at this moment, if we were to do a comparison, I guarantee you 60 or 70% of the people would say John's audio is the best.
Well, most people are not as adverse as we are when it comes to how stuff sounds.
No,
so.
it's actually very impressive. A lot of people
for $35.
A lot of people use that microphone, and a lot of people, they go like this to the microphone, they start talking, right on it, or they stand this far away and they talk. You know what you're doing with the microphone. It sounds unbelievable. I mean, I'm very impressed by that mic. By the way, Mike Phillips in our chat room, audio expert Mike Phillips is the one who kind of made this microphone very well known amongst podcasters and internet broadcasters. So credit goes to him for introducing all of us to that mic. Any reason why you went with that and not the AT2005?
Well, I did. There was a website that I went to that had samples of each microphone via XLR, via USB, via the 2100 versus the 2005. And quite frankly, for $15, $20 more, there's not that big of a difference. You could dub it in between each thing and barely hear any difference between the two of them. So I figure save the $15 and it'll sound almost exactly like a 2005.
I actually have the 2005 right here, and it's a phenomenal mic. Great microphone. I just never use it.
I mean, the biggest difference between those two microphones is the way they look. That's the biggest difference.
Sure. Michael, do you have the AT2005 or 2100?
No, I don't. What I use, and what we've used in the past for T4 show, I have an SM58, which is pretty much the standard bearer for live microphones. That's what we use on the Disney specials. Colm has a Sennheiser, I believe, that he's had for, it got to be since I've met him, and then before that. It's an interesting topic about these microphones, because anyone had ever asked me, hey, I want to have my own tech show or have my own podcast or anything like that. I used to tell them to go with that Logitech desktop mic for $29. That's what we probably all started off with. and that's a USB mic too, but it's a really cheap microphone, but it has decent sound. That one that Suncast has is the one to start with for any new podcaster, anybody doing voiceovers for software tutorials, anything. Do that for the first 10, 20, 50 episodes of your podcast or series.
Yeah.
And then you want to do it and you're serious and you finally almost got, 5% of your bugs worked out by that time. That would be a good time to upgrade to like a Rode podcast or another USB mic, or delve into the mixers and the SM58s and stuff like that. But that microphone, that 2100 from Audio-Technica, correct?
Yeah, Audio-Technica.
That is the one. If anybody asked, AT2100 USB, I believe, is the full model number. That would be the one to go for.
Listen, I think for in most situations, if like I use this mic and I use it because I'm out of my mind, like I don't need to use this microphone. It's not improving my show. Like when you listen to my microphone, when you listen to John, do you hear a $950 difference in audio quality? Absolutely not. Most of it comes down to aesthetics. I like the look of this mic. I kind of like the sound of this mic. But if you were to compare this and this, you're not really going to hear oh my God, look at that. Look at the quality. It's also personal preference. I'm very insecure. That's why I use the Neumann. That's what it really comes down to.
He's using XLR. He's not using USB. There will be a little bit of degradation, and be careful if you're plugging it into a laptop that has limited USB bandwidth. So then if you plug in your keyboard, your mouse, a printer, that's where you get into a little bit of trouble when you try to eat up USB bandwidth. Then your audio is going to be affected greatly by that.
You're absolutely right. Nice little audio tip here to start the show, because a lot of our viewers are podcasters or they're interested in podcasting and they're audio junkies. So I thought it would be a nice little way to start the show. But before we actually start with the tech news, I do want to thank our sponsor, a new sponsor to the show, and that is GoDaddy.com. Now, if you want to buy a domain name, this is the place to go, and I'll tell you why. I told a story last week, and I don't know, Michael, you heard this story, what happened with a website that I had bought with GoDaddy. My wife bought a website about 2.5 years ago, and she did nothing with it. I think I said a year ago last year, but it was about 2.5 years ago. She bought this website, never did anything, sat on it, was a GoDaddy site. I think we bought it for like $9. And we started getting, phone calls from GoDaddy. I'm like, I probably have to renew it. I forgot. I ignored the call. I ignored the call. Finally, I get like a personal email from GoDaddy, one of their representatives. And the guy said, hey, listen, we have someone that's interested in buying your website. They're interested in purchasing the domain name. And I said, okay, how much? And the amount was unbelievable. I mean, I was actually blown away. I thought it'd be a couple $100. It was a couple $1,000. We sold the site for a couple grand. Jessica did not spend more than $10 for this site. And that's like a little extra thing that a lot of people don't know when you buy a domain name with GoDaddy. If it's a GoDaddy domain name, they'll broker a deal if someone wants it. So I thought it was like a little interesting story to tell people, because I do consider domain names 21st century real estate. Because, I mean, think about it. For $10, you're buying this piece of land. I mean, it could be an interesting name. It could be something unique. And who knows, someone might come knocking and say, hey, 20 grand, here you go. And then you buy it.
LoveMichaelManna.com that she sold?
I love MichaelManna.com, yeah.
She sold it?
Yeah,
no,
that's the one.
She told me she never would.
All she had was a BWO on it. I don't know what that means. It's just this logo on that website. I have no clue what she was doing. But, I mean, she made a couple grand, and that's unbelievable. And you could actually do this. And I'll tell you how easy it is to buy a domain name, and I'll tell you the deal that we're running. $249 for a .com domain name by going to GoDaddy.com and using promo code QUEENS at checkout. Or if you're watching live or if you're listening to this on the website, we have a little GoDaddy tab. Click on that, and it'll just take you directly, and everything's already in the cart. But $249, you can't go wrong with GoDaddy. I want to thank GoDaddy for supporting Tech News Weekly. John, why don't you pick a story? I never let you go first. You never go first. Why don't you go first?
I'm really wanting to talk about all this iPhone stuff now that I'm kind of in that Apple environment. I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid, if you will.
You have, and you were a BlackBerry guy.
Yeah, and even a little bit to the Android side, but I think iPhone is where it's at for now. And there's a lot of in between the lines there as far as Android and iPhone goes, but for right now, it's iPhone, I think. according to All Things D, Apple's next iPhone event is slated for September 10th. That's when we're supposed to be able to hear the announcement for the new iPhone 5S and possibly the lower cost 5C.
So we're getting both. This is on September 10th. We're going to get both unveiled. Michael,
And iOS 7, of course.
iOS 7, obviously, and I'm sure we're going to get some information about the next version. You know, they'll probably announce the release date of OS 10, and they'll probably.
And this is something that a lot of people. It's really been ramping up the last month, I would say, in terms of just the amount of rumors and coverage that there is about speculation over the next iPhone and 5C, the cheaper one.
Michael, do you have any interest in a cheaper iPhone?
No, I'm very interested to see how their tiered type of pricing works, because Coleman and I discussed it on the T4 show about right now it's the 5 for $199, the 4S for $99, and then the 4 for free. As history repeats itself, you would assume that 4S will be free, 5 will be $99, and 5S will be $199. And these are all three of these models are viable models. They work great. I was on a 4S forever until I recently upgraded to a 5. That's what I don't understand. What market, besides adding colors and competing with the Lumias and the other phones of the world and the Android universe, what other stuff, where will this fit in? It's not going to be a smaller phone, because why would they want to do that? They want to give the 4-inch screen. The only thing I see standing out is the color. And there's another thing in the show notes I saw about removing Siri. But how much is Siri really worth, and how much cost goes into putting it into the software? I don't understand. And to me, that's a play. Like the iPad mini can run more stuff than the iPad 2, like Siri.
I also think what they're going to do is limit the storage size on this thing. So if we look down the line of products, like you could take the iPhone 5C, let's say that they're calling it that. They're going to give you the color. They're going to take away storage size, so maybe the most that you could get is 16. Maybe they're only going to have an 8 gig model. They could possibly do that. They're going to take away Siri.
Come on, with cloud storage, with iCloud, with streaming, storage has really not been an issue. Even that 128 gig iPad, which tempted me because I travel a lot and I put a lot of movies on there, it didn't really sell. 64s don't. The most popular model is that 32, because it's kind of like in between. The only popular model on the iPhone, the most popular by far, is the 16 gig, because everything is in the cloud, everything is streaming, and unless you really have a low data intensive plan, like a very cheap data plan, it's not going to. And the people that are buying this may have the cheap data plans because it's a financial consideration. Would you think they even really care about storage at that point?
You know when storage counts? Like I had the same attitude, Michael, as you with storage. I'm like, who needs it? Everything I have is on the cloud. I don't put any MP3s on this thing. I'll download a couple podcasts and then I delete them when I'm done. I don't need more than 16 gigs. But these apps are now are huge in size compared to what they were 2 years ago. And the apps are starting to take up significant space. I mean, on my iPad, I'm maxed out on the 16 gig. My wife on her iPhone is maxed out on the 16 gig, and it's all it's all apps.
So how's Apple gonna get them to buy all the apps then if they can't put them on the phone?
That's what it is. So I think what they're gonna do. You know what? You want to get the cheaper one? Here you go, 8 gig, 16 gig. You're not getting Siri. It's plasticky. It's not as nice. And on top of that, they're going to have to put a lot more into the higher model now. It can't just be one's plastic and one's not.
Do you think that those type of people, you and your wife, are not really who the lower cost iPhone is targeted to?
You know what? I think a lot of people are storing MP3s on their phones. I think a lot of people are storing movies on their phones. So, if you're a teenager, if you're going to a store and you're seeing a $99 phone, which is exactly the same, and you get all these colors, it's that same mentality as when you go to the car dealership and they go, "What color do you want?" Well, it's not as good, but what color do you want? Look at all the colors that you can get. I feel like it's almost like that, where they're selling you based on the color, not the hardware. And if you do want the hardware, guess what? You're going to fork out the extra, $150 and buy the 5S. Because it seems like they're adding a lot more with the 5S. I mean, if you look at some of these rumors, there may be an option for a 128 gig version. They may be using a 64-bit processor on it. Also, rumors are coming out that it's going to have fingerprint sensors, which I don't know why That's not a selling point to me.
This is a really interesting rumor because this is something that we've had a rumor for like probably last year or two, or the last two generations. It's been rumored that it was going to have some sort of fingerprint sensor, but what they're doing with this is very interesting. That they're going to actually change the shape of the home button to accommodate this new fingerprint sensor.
Michael, do you what do you think of that? The whole, like, to me, it's a non-issue. Like, I don't care for it.
Well, they said that instead of having the curve, the innie, it's going to be an Audi. That's it's going to be curved or bumped up from the phone. That's the rumor, and I don't know if that would be a drastic change. We're seeing some changes with Apple since Steve Jobs passed away, and now they're coming forth. We're talking about fragmentation with Android. There's a little bit of fragmentation that's creeping up with iOS. There's fragmentation creeping up with the Apple hardware products, and we could see more with this. They have to be careful because right now in 2013, the new feature phone, if people are old enough to remember the flip phones, those were the free feature phones for the carriers. Now your free feature phone is last generation's Android phone, which number one comes in different colors, and number two has expandable storage with micro SD. And just about every kid out there has a Gmail account as opposed to an iCloud account. So these things are making Android creep up on Apple, and they really need to make, I think the number one thing they need to do is something huge with the camera. And then people say, wow, the camera's amazing. It's better than Lumia 1020, better than any Android phone out there. That's what I'm buying this for. And then you're talking about storage. I'm storing photos and videos and things like that. Now the storage will come into play.
I mean, what can they do with the camera, though? Well,
here's something to think about. Just a quick thought. It could be crazy. Do you think the cheaper iPhone may have SD or micro SD expansion?
No, they're never going to. Never say never, but I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they want you plugging in a SD card and taking it out. I mean, it's... But you know what? Here's the thing. It's a different Apple, right? The whole concept of being simple and that's the selling point. Like, oh, look how elegant it is. It's simple. There's no nothing. There's no holes on the side. That's kind of out the window. If they're adding a fingerprint sensor and they're adding all these weird things to it, it's a different...
talking about a plastic phone. Plastic phone. Cheaper phone. What would make this phone stand out as the free or $99 phone as opposed to a 4S? Or even when the 5 drops to $99, when the 5S comes out, what would make it? It's out there on a limb, but maybe we're thinking too much in what Apple usually does, and they could blow it wide open by saying, you can expand it up to whatever you want, but it's a cheaper phone. It doesn't have a good camera as good as the 5S or even maybe the 5. Doesn't have the tough body like the well, it's not really tough, but if they build it like a polycarbonate like the old MacBooks, it could be viable for that too. There's your expansion on storage. I mean, that could really solve a lot of issues.
I would solve a ton of issues, but in my opinion, I do not see that ever happening on their side.
I agree.
This is really starting to sound like Tim Cook's Apple now, I think.
Oh, I think this is perfect.
If it was Steve Jobs, we know Steve Jobs would never do this. Steve Jobs would never do this, but Tim Cook might.
I have said this for a while, and people think I'm insane when I say this. I think Apple's going to open up their OS for the masses within the next 10 years. I think. I think
10 years
OS
is a long freaking time.
5
We've
years.
only had
5 years.
5 years. With the iPhone.
Okay,
right
5
now,
years.
So.
I think when you're talking about OS 10, I think they're going to open it up within the next 5 years. You're going to be able to go and buy it and install it on whatever you want.
No, because the hardware is where they're making their money. That's the biggest profit margin. Why would they give it away and let you put it on anything? We missed a point too. Carl Icahn has put his claws into Apple in some form or fashion, and that Steve Jobs would never allow somebody like Carl Icahn into California, much less Cupertino. And that's another way. It's Tim Cook's Apple, like Suncast said.
Did you guys see this the gold iPhone?
This is something I don't understand. People are saying that this is like all over the internet. And people are like, "Oh, wow, gold!" Yippee! I don't really. I just don't see the appeal.
You don't care.
What is the appeal of a gold iPhone? This was never something that I've never seen a gold phone really be something that appeals to the masses. It's such a niche little market for somebody that wants a gold color phone.
Michael, gold iPhone? You going for it?
Somebody, one of those companies like Colorware or some kind of store did that. And, I like different colors. I've always been fascinated by doing the colorware type customization. But I have 3% on these devices so much that I'll have to take it in the Genius Bar and swap it out for a brand new one. So now I'm out the $100 or $120 that I did the customization. I don't think if all this is true, this is something that Apple is starting to get a little confused and not have the focus. And I have all Apple products. I have an iPhone 5, iPad mini, MacBook Pro. I'll still continue to buy Apple products, but I become more careful. Like now that I have the iPad mini, I'm not going to get the Retina because now 7 or 8 months after that, or maybe a year, we're going to get another one. Then we're going to get another one. The last time it went from iPad 3, the new iPad, to the iPad 4 was a 7-month cycle. That's the quickest Apple has ever had for any device of such like that. And if they go into the 6-month cycle with iPhones, I'm just gonna hold on to this 5 until whenever, maybe the 6 or the 7.
Rush in our chat room said, make 1,000 gold iPhones worldwide via a la Willy Wonka. Watch people start fighting over that. That'd be phenomenal. I would pay to see people just having an all-out brawl for a gold iPhone.
To go to Cupertino?
Yeah.
They need to make it in like a very limited edition if they're going to do gold.
So let's speculate a little bit about the announcement on September 10th. We're gonna see the iPhone. We're gonna see the inexpensive iPhone. What else do you think we're gonna get a release for? iOS 7, obviously. OS 10, obviously.
Well, they're obviously going to save some sort of features in iOS 7 that they haven't told us about. That only works with the iPhone 5S or whatever the new king of the iPhone is.
What do you think?
What's that, Michael?
I hate that because I got a 5 and I got a great deal on one. And if there's like 1 or 2 major features which will be missing or not there, I'm gonna be pissed.
I'm hoping that they announce the Haswell MacBook Pros because I'm getting ready for a new MacBook Pro and I would like one to be a Haswell.
Well, there's also some rumors out there saying that they might have new iPads this fall.
Yeah, I would imagine,
including an iPad Mini Retina.
Yeah, iPad Mini Retina and a new iPad. I guess new iPad. And the rumors are that it's going to have a much thinner bezel, which from whatever leaked image I saw, the bezel is very similar to what it looks like on the Retina, on the Mini.
This is what's really funny, though, is the fact that there are analysts now fighting, saying that there is or won't be an iPad announcement on September 10th or this year.
I think they have to. The last 2 iPads that came out, the 3 and the 4, it was a non-event.
So what makes this an event then? Because these are still I have
iOS
right here.
7.
iOS 7
I think iOS 7 does kind of change things. I think I could see them introduce a new iPad to go along with iOS 7. Then again, iPads have kind of always been off cycle with the release of a new operating system.
No, but what I'm saying is the reason why this would be a bigger selling point as far as a 9.7-inch iPad is obviously a thinner bezel, possibly a little bit thinner in design. That's just enough for them to, oh, look, it's a new one. I think the 3 and the 4, it was announced like, hey, by the way, we got a new one. Okay. You can still buy the iPad too. But here we go. Here's a new one. I think that's where they're going to have to go. And I think, maybe they do have to go with this Retina, non-Retina platform. That's how they're going to sell it.
Yeah. You know what? And also that new home button with the fingerprint sensor probably would be an excuse for them to put out a new iPad. That's my thought on that. They may even make that for iPads too.
Because I'm in the market for a new one. I've had the iPad 2 and that thing is 2 years old at this point. It's coming up on 2 years.
But see, that's what I'm saying. The iPad mini is based on the same specs as your iPad 2. I got the mini right here. I love this thing. And first of all, I just want to say I can never go back to a 9.7-inch or the rumored 13-inch iPad. Jesus Christ, are you kidding me? A 13-inch iPad? What the hell are you going to do with that thing? And so I think I really did find the form factor with this mini. This is an excellent. If the MacBook Airs become as powerful as my MacBook Retina here, the 15-inch, I'll probably upgrade to that because then I can carry both on the road with me with no weight in my backpack or no bulk or bulge like I get carrying both of these around in the backpack. That would be amazing.
I've held
I
off.
absolutely agree with you on that. 13 inches, it's just too big for a tablet. The iPad mini is exactly the right weight. I think the 10-inch iPad, it's nice in size, but in terms of weight, it's a little heavy in my opinion for being able to just carry it around with you. It's like the iPad mini is nothing.
Now, it's amazing how the speculation has kind of shifted. Like this whole Apple TV concept has gone away. Like nobody's talking about that now. They're talking about the iWatch, and that's the thing now. And it's interesting. Like, do you think we'll get any kind of glimpse at this fantasy device?
I think what they're going to do, just quickly, I don't think we're seeing the device. They're still working on the TV deals. They could blindside us with the one more thing and have the TV distribution deal with the Apple TV that we have now and subscription and stuff like that, commercial free stuff or skipping stuff like a DVR. The thing that I think they're really going to focus on is that iTunes radio stuff, which we hardly seen. So they might be able to demo that for iOS 7. We didn't really see too much of anything at that initial press conference.
You're absolutely right. And we're probably going to get a release date and price structure for the Mac Pro. We're probably going to get that.
Nice.
I would like to start a betting pool on the pricing, what people think the pricing is going to be. My guess is starting price $19.99. I don't know what you guys think. What do you think, John?
Well, you also have to take into consideration the fact that it's going to have dual GPU in there, and I think that automatically raises the price by another $300-$400 for sure, just by adding a second GPU.
So you're saying $24.99?
Well, no, I think they could do it for about 19, but I think it wouldn't be anything less than that or much less than that.
How about you, Michael?
I'd say probably. I have two prices in my mind because of the iMac. The way it's, I'm leaning towards $24.99, but it doesn't give you really anything. You really got to spend $3,000 to get something that's worth something internally.
Okay.
Because you got to think you're not having too many expansion options. You're not having anything outside of Thunderbolt. You'll be able to put RAM in it, and God knows how much that's going to cost you. But $24.99 for some reason stands out to me because the iMacs go $19.99, $21.99, and then that top iMac is usually $2,500 to $2,700 without the SSD, and that's what we're talking about too. The base model having a very small SSD, and then as you go up and double, you'll have to go. I think $3,000 is going to be the useful price point, but $24.99 will be that bare bones Mac Pro.
I'm thinking there will be a price cut compared to previous models because of the fact you cannot expand on this thing. And that is
I don't see that at
that's
all.
a big problem when someone has to put in, 4 capture cards. It's a big problem. What are you going to do?
Let me ask you a question. What if they gave people a choice and made the iMacs and the Mac Pros, now I'm talking about the low-end 21-inch, I'm talking about the 27-inch ones. What if they just made it right in line and said, take your choice. Here's the iMac. It includes 27-inch screen. But here we have this Mac Pro for the same price, with the Thunderbolts, with more of a pro style thing for peripherals, where you could do that with this thing. It's your choice. You give somebody a choice, then you can get some consumers that might say, man, I got a big monitor. I'll attach this to my TV, and I got 6 Thunderbolt ports. I can do some pretty cool stuff like that. And they could have it for a longer time than the iMac, which people get rid of every 1 or 2 years because you can't do anything with that either.
I don't know. I'm all eye fatigued out. I mean, it's so overwhelming at this point.
We got another month of it.
One more month. And then you know what? It starts all over again.
Yep.
The iPhone 6 rumors just start up literally a month after the new one is released. So it's a never-ending cycle. And
Plus, because we don't get such and such, well then, all right, well, the next model's got to have that, right?
I just want to go back to like a regular analog phone. That's it.
All right, what would you rather do? cover new devices or cover new Android devices, we would have to do 5
listen,
shifts.
it's a lot more,
No, don't defend Android.
The
Come on.
No, the iPhone stuff. Obviously, it's the sexier of the two conversations to have. Who cares if there's a new Samsung phone coming out? Talking about who cares, BlackBerry has pretty much confirmed that they're done. BlackBerry has a new strategy, and it is to take itself private. So this is the beginning of the end, in my opinion.
They're exploring options, including taking the company private.
Including taking it private, or I think they're going to sell it.
The way they actually worded this is very interesting. They say that the Canadian smartphone maker revealed that a committee has been formed to look for, quote, strategic alternatives to push BlackBerry 10.
They're looking for buyers.
Possibly making BlackBerry private or also selling it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But they're actually only saying to push BlackBerry 10, which is a very interesting way of wording things, I think. It's very interesting that they're doing this because, in a way, I almost feel as though they're finally kind of seeing that they're admitting defeat in some ways.
I mean, it took long enough. I mean, when a company like this puts a committee together to explore options, that means they don't have too much more left in the tank, and they're just looking for a buyer.
Yeah, they went all in with BlackBerry 10. They've run its course with BlackBerry 10, and now they're coming to that realization that things did not work out for them.
5 years too late.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's a great phone. I think it's a great device, but is the future of BlackBerry making hardware or making software? Or neither.
If it had come out around the same time, a year after Android, I think it would have been great. They just took way too long with BlackBerry 10. But if they had pulled this off 2 years sooner.
But they have a lot of assets, and they do have some sort of credibility left. I think if a company were to buy them and start incorporating the BlackBerry, I don't even know who could do it. I really don't.
My guess is it would have to be Microsoft because you're talking about Microsoft Exchange, BlackBerry Enterprise Server. I don't know about these two technologies, but as far as their focus on the enterprise and corporate America and corporations around the world, Microsoft might be able to take that technology and migrate it over there. And now they have passive income coming in off subscriptions and stuff like that.
But what do you do with BlackBerry 10? But what do you do? What does Microsoft do with BlackBerry 10?
Nothing. There might be certain patents, and there might be certain accounts, and there might be certain revenue that BlackBerry can bring in that it's market share that Microsoft can take a hold of.
Yeah, I mean in that sense, yes. I mean they'll take the patents, but there's obviously no future in the software. The only thing I could think of is you have like an LG, which is not doing too well with Android. You have let's say HTC, for example. I know they had success with the last phone they put out, but they haven't really done much. What if these two companies said, you know what, we're going to start selling BlackBerry 10 OS devices? So it has, and then they just sell it with that operating system. That becomes their operating system. Is there a future for BlackBerry in that sense?
I'm going to say no, because this to me it's very parallel to WebOS and Palm. I think the fact that when HP took over Palm and WebOS, they kind of sat on it, didn't do anything, or it took them so long to work their minds around what it is that WebOS was and how they were going to utilize it, that by the time they figured that out, it was too late to salvage anything from WebOS. I think that could be pretty much the same as BlackBerry 10.
It's disappointing because the operating system is a pretty good operating system, but the market has matured so much where I don't think a fourth phone can ever survive in this market.
I just think that it's such a shame because it's another example of how in business or even in technology, the way we see it, why do companies have to complicate things so much? Why did they go? BlackBerry basically collapsed itself. Dual CEOs going through all these things, going away, doing this, not sticking. HTC sort of does this too. This is the Android curse. That's what I'm going to start calling it. At least when Apple comes out with an iPhone 5S, it's constantly doing stuff for that device and the legacy devices behind it. Yeah. But when they first came out, the first iPhone, it was gung-ho, this phone, that's it. When the HTC One comes out, you're like, okay, here's all this stuff and that after, but I know that they're already working on the HTC 2 or whatever they're going to call it. Same thing with LG, same thing with Samsung, with Motorola, with the Moto X. You're going to have the Motorola Y or X Plus. This is the problem. They don't say this phone and the way we're doing this device is our baby for the next 4 months, and we're going to push it. Or 5 months or 6 months. Do you know what I'm saying?
The Android approach, the entire Android mindset has been, let's put as many devices out there, let's saturate the market, let's gain the market share, and if people know that, we can Android controls the market share, it's this weird thing where people are like, we want the number one phone. Well, the number one phone is this. Okay, this is what we're going to use.
I didn't know you had me on camera. I was yawning.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right. I'm boring you. It's okay.
What kind of face did I make in that yawn? It was like I was ripping my own jaw.
Suncast, grab a screen cap of that.
No, don't. No, don't do that.
I don't know.
I'll make a GIF out of it.
You make a GIF, yeah. Make a GIF. we could have it on the I Love Michael Manna site.
That's great. Oh, it's sold now. Can't do it.
Microsoft confirms Windows 8.1 to launch October 17th. This is sooner than people anticipated. The release date will be 12 a.m. on October 18th in New Zealand, which is 4 a.m. Pacific and 7 a.m. East on October 17th. So it's a free upgrade. It's going to begin rolling out at you could do it at the Microsoft Windows Store. It's also available at retailers and on new devices. 8.1 is coming out. Good step in the right direction. You know what I did notice at the stores? I went to Best Buy the other day when I was in the city. And they had a lot, all the new Windows laptops out there. Almost every one of them had a start menu. Like they had some third-party start menu added to them. I found that fascinating. That they're all adding the start button with whatever the application is. Who's making them, John? Who's making the start button? I was
insulting Colm.
Who's making the start button?
The start button?
Yeah,
nobody.
No. Like, the third party ones?
Oh, there's there's Start 8. And then there was the other one, I think it was like Pookie or something like that.
Yeah, so they're all adding those things. So to me, having the start menu back is a non-issue. I don't know if it's going to make any kind of impact for the average consumer.
Well, I think the people that really want that start menu are going to go and find those solutions. So I think there's going to be some people that are okay with a start button that just takes you back to the Metro interface, but it's just, I don't know. I think the sooner this comes, the better, but
the sooner the better we get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Microsoft is also going to stop selling PC games on the Xbox.com website. Michael, you're a gamer. Why this? Like, why are they going to stop selling PC games on the Xbox.com website?
I have no friggin' idea. I never know what the hell they're doing. Microsoft. That was giving me my second big yawn. I actually yawned the minute you said Windows 8.1, and I was going to make the joke. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, the only good thing about this whole deal is that they're not going to have the same problems that Apple has with their servers when people are downloading iOS 7. So, God, they're just idiots. They're just morons. They're awful. This whole thing with these reversals and all this stuff, it's what I just said, the focus, and I'm sure Paul will talk about it more on What the Tech. But, God, I mean, outside of Windows Phone, which just got an update, I got one on the 820, I have to say that Windows Phone and Xbox are just, well, with the recent announcements of reversals, they aren't doing so great. But at least those two products and what they do are very, very good. And I'm very satisfied having a Windows Phone. I'm very satisfied with the Xbox 360 and with both experiences. Why can't they do that when it comes to the actual computing platform, which is their moneymaker?
Yeah, I think the Xbox was a fluke for them at first. I think they hit something spot on, and I think they're like, oh my God, this worked. We got to make sure this is right. And I think Windows Phone works too. I think Windows Phone is a phenomenal platform. But when it comes to the desktop, I think because they're catering to so many different type of users, it's very difficult to kind of support everything and everybody. And I think that's their big problem. They want to leave this desktop concept and go to this tiled interface, but you're not going to get acceptance from enterprise when that's the case.
What they did was, the mistake was they went to the Metro interface, but to use it without touchscreen is awful. It's great on Windows Phone. It's great on touchscreen laptops or tablets. But if you're using a mouse or a trackpad, oh my goodness, it is a pain in the ass.
And I don't want to use.
Still so very little support for Windows 8 desktop or Metro interface style applications and whatnot.
But I also don't want to touch a laptop. Like, I don't want to go to my laptop and start swiping the screen. You know, I don't want to do that. And I feel like it was pushed on me. Now I don't want it.
Well, they make these wonderful computers called Macs that you can use.
It's a great Windows machine, too.
It is. You know what? Another little plug. I would say that if you want the best Windows laptop out there, get a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can run parallels or crossover or whatever your choice is, and it runs Windows perfectly fine. I don't see why people don't buy Macs. You're like buying two computers for one. And it really, and the warranty, that's where I go. Because if you break one of these Windows laptops, unless you have that Best Buy protection, you're going to have to go to the manufacturer. You're going to have to go through jump through hoops, I should say. But if you buy a Mac, you go straight to the Genius Bar, once again, just like the phone, and they'll usually fix it or swap it for you. You can get AppleCare for 3 years.
I cracked the case on my MacBook, regular MacBook, years ago, and my first one. I cracked the case on that thing like 3 times, and I just went to the store and they're like, okay, no problem, we'll fix it for you. I didn't have any warranty, nothing. They just took it, they go, okay, no problem, we'll fix it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of it. John, before we go...
It's as good as 8.1. It's almost as good as Windows 8.1, I would say. Slightly better.
Slightly better. The Russians did steal my laptop, though. I went to go get something soldered.
What secrets did you have on there?
I had nothing. There was no hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
There was no hard drive at all. And they stole. I went. It was after Sandy. I went to the store and it was boarded up and there was nothing there. Phone number disconnected. Everything. So
those Russians.
Yeah.
They can't be trusted.
Yeah. So the Russians have all the top secret information of GFQ, and now they're dominating us in broadcasting. John, go into another story before we go into our picks of the week.
I want to do this really quick one on the Moto X skip NFC button.
Okay.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around this thing. This is such a very fascinating device because it's this little clip thing that you can put on your shirt, your pants, wherever, and it's used to unlock your Moto X device. Supposedly, it's shipping free when you use the Moto Maker store, which is basically you go into the store and you can customize your Moto X in whatever accent colors and etc. that you want with your Moto X. But you can also purchase this for, I believe, $20, which I just don't. $20 for this even. I just they say that you unlock your phone 39 times a day on average, and this is making it so much easier. But I'm like, this is another little thing that's going to be so easy to lose, and you've lost another $20 because you've lost this little thing.
Do you care about this, Michael?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was playing some games on my iPad. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. This device is just so ridiculous. Why do we need this?
What? These people, these companies, I'm just reading this again. Actually, I'm not playing a game, although I wish I was, because I'm reading this whole thing. And like you said, it's like, it's all gimmicks. It really is. It doesn't matter. The Moto X, for instance, when we heard about the Moto X, we thought that this was the next Nexus, correct? Since Motorola got bought by Google, we thought this would be the Nexus 5.
Yeah, initially.
But it's not. Why didn't they release this as the Nexus 5 with a really good camera, pure Google, put it right next to the S4 and the HTC One in the Google Play Store, give people a choice between what they want on that? I think that's an idea. On a side note, I think that's a great idea to have devices like the S4. I hope the Note 3 has pure vanilla Android too. I think that's an excellent way to go with what they're doing. But this Moto X, if you can go on the Google Play Store and get an S4 or an HTC One with plain vanilla Android and get your updates quicker, why would you buy this device? Even with this little customization thing, who cares?
The Nexus 5, I believe they did say that Motorola is going to put out the next Nexus device. And, good step forward. You know that the device is going to be the flagship device. But I feel like initially that's how they sold this phone. They sold it as, oh, yeah, this Moto X that they're working on will be the Motorola phone. It's the first one. But it turned out that the big selling point of this device is the fact that you could customize it up the wazoo with almost every color known to man, and it's made here in America. That's the big selling point. Not the specs, not the hardware, not the software.
Yeah, and the camera internals are still, the good ones are still in Japan. They didn't bring those over to America to make them and put them in this phone, because I heard the camera is not very good.
I didn't know that. Ugh, disappointing.
I just don't get this Moto Skip thing. It's just, there's no need for this. Yeah, you unlock your phone a lot of times per day, but it's just another one of these tiny little devices that you're going to lose so easily.
Well, it's also, what they're trying to do is they're adding all these features and to kind of make one thing stick. I don't know. It's weird. Actually, here's a picture of it, John. This is it.
Yeah, it's just this little clip thing.
Yeah, it clips on.
And it's
weird.
Like, do you see how easily you can lose this thing because it's so small?
Bizarre. All right, guys. You know what time it is? Time for picks of the week.
It's time for Motorola to go out of business again.
I can't. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I have no idea what buttons I'm pressing. I need to. I need to make like a chart.
Come on.
I need to make like a chart of all the buttons so I know what I'm looking at. This is the portion of the show where we pick a device, a website, a whatever that we like, and we feature it on the show. Who wants to go first today?
I'll go first.
Michael Manna will go first.
I'm switching it up.
Okay.
All right. You ready for the record? You can put it up on YouTube
individually.
And 3, 2. I'm counting them down myself.
Okay.
1. And my pick this week is PayPal Here. And for people who've used Square card readers or even the Intuit Go Payment in the past, I really do think that PayPal Here is superior to both of those. Number one, I've used Square, and I've had some account issues with Square off and on, and I found their customer service to be lacking. Intuit Go Payment was pretty good. They were really good, actually, when I communicated through Twitter, but they changed their terms of service, and it was enough to make me not want to use them anymore. PayPal Here, signed up, got verified, did all my stuff I needed to do, and the best part is my card reader is on its way. It's probably in the mailbox right now, but I had to go to Wisconsin and wrestle, and I have merchandise at my table during intermission, but I did not need the card reader. I just used the manual portion of PayPal Here, did everything I needed to do for the price of whatever, processed the credit card payment, had the person sign with their finger, and then had the usual thing of, can I text them or email them a receipt? And then within 5 or 10 minutes, I got emailed the confirmation that I received the payment. I think it was the easiest way to sign up for it from beginning to end, the signing up part to the actual use of it. And when I get the card reader, it's going to be even easier than what I did over the weekend. And I love PayPal anyway because I can use it on different sites to shop. Really good and useful. And I think for people that don't want to have to look at their bank statements to see those two little deposits like with Square, I couldn't find them for the life of me for like 2 or 3 weeks. This is a great solution. And I mean, everybody has a PayPal account anyway right now. So it would probably be pretty easy for anybody with a small account or a large account to use PayPal Here.
So interesting. So when you're selling the merchandise, like the T-shirts and everything, you use PayPal Here to kind of, people could pay with credit card. Do any other wrestlers use like credit card services?
Yeah, a few people use Square and they saw me using PayPal Here and they switched over because they're like, oh, that looks much easier. They usually kind of look to me to see what I'm doing, what my workflow as far as tech stuff is concerned. The best part about it is, here's what I look at. If you're selling something at a table, if you're at a convention or a fan con or a Comic Con, or even if you go out there and you're trying to sell service, Andrew, if you're doing consulting, more times than not, people are not going to pay with cash. More times people are going to spend money more easily if it's not physically coming out of their wallet or purse. So when you accept credit card payments or even PayPal, I say if one person had a PayPal account, so is it as easy as transferring out of their PayPal? So it's even easier than a credit card transaction if they have a PayPal account.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Really, really cool. That's actually a good pick. I like your pick.
I have one once in a while.
No, that's a very good pick. John, what's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is a website called Earl Uncover, URL uncoverpro.com. What it is a website where you can put in any of those short URLs that you see on the internet today, and it'll tell you where the site goes and if it can be trusted. It's a very interesting website because if you use Twitter, if you use Facebook, you know there's these short URLs everywhere, but you don't know exactly where they lead until you actually click on it. And some of them do offer previews, but you have to know the secret combination to enter into the URL to do that. But you can never remember what they are. So you can just use Earl Uncover, and it'll let you see whatever it is that you're looking for. So once you enter it in, you can actually see a thumbnail of it, and it'll actually use, I think, what's it called? AVG or something. It'll tell you if it can be trusted on the web, which is really interesting. So you know if it's a good website to go to before you actually click the link.
So what is trust
useful.
level? The trust level is gray.
Gray, I think. I'm not sure of the names because I haven't actually looked at all of them. Try doing it again, and you should see a thumbnail of GQ in there, I think.
Well, the screenshot is something. It's this.
Yeah, it doesn't always work right if it's been through multiple short URLs, which is interesting because you can make a short URL of a short URL of a short URL, and you have to go through a few of them in order to get through it. Yeah, it's through McAfee that does the trust thing.
Yeah,
but it's pretty cool. So if you have like one of those ad file links or a link box thing that you see on there, or you just have a URL that you think might be suspicious, but you want to see where it goes before you actually click on it, this is a great way to find out where that short URL goes to.
Very interesting. And you know,
it's
where this comes into handy is, let's say I'll tweet something every now and then I'll get like a bunch of people giving me like, most 99% of the time it's spam, but I'm so conditioned to seeing it as spam. Like even if, let's say I tweet something, Michael sends me a tweet back and he has like one of these short URLs, I will automatically think, oh, he got hacked or something like that, and I won't click on it. So something like that, it's actually really handy.
Yeah, and not all of those short URL shortening services have a way to preview them. So this is a great way to do that, to figure out what it is that you're going to. That way you're not fooled into going somewhere that you don't want to go.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I actually this week do not have a pick of the week. And
you didn't get one?
Come on, man.
I didn't. I don't have one. I could not come up with one, and I don't have one. But I promise next week I'll have a good one.
No, you won't.
That's what I'd like to tell them, but it's always crappy. I know that. I don't have a pick of the week. But that's it, guys.
Fail.
That wraps it up. Michael, anything coming up? T4 Show, obviously. T4 Show on Twitter. No, Michael Manna on Twitter. T4 Show on Facebook. Anything coming up? Anything to plug?
You know what? I might actually, even I'm looking off to the right. I have a different setup here because I moved the desk. And like you said, I broke down the studio again. I got some green screens that I never really used lately. And Colm has his super secret show we're not allowed to talk about that involves green screens. And when I saw that, it was amazing.
T4 anymore.
What's that?
We're not doing T4 anymore because he's got a secret show now.
Oh, so he left.
Kicked him off.
Yeah.
Oh, he's kicked off. He's done.
Yeah.
Oh, he's kicked.
Yeah.
Nobody talks to me about this stuff. That's fine.
He demanded extra money. It was a whole thing, and he decided he quit. And I kicked him off before he could quit. So
he thinks he's got a real studio now.
Yeah, he says that he's going to twit. That's what he told me.
Oh, well, that's career suicide. Ask Paul. Anyway, I got the wall here. I'm going to put up some green screen stuff. Got to get some lights, and I may start dressing up the videos a little bit. So that could be coming, but more than likely not.
Very cool. Very
nothing.
Cool.
Short answer: nothing is going on.
Also, if you want, I see you're wearing a nice T-shirt there, Michael.
Yes, I am. I have to give your lovely wife a T-shirt from ProWrestlingTees.com/Stevie Richards. It has all my wrestling stuff. Also, you can go. Link to that is the T4 Show site, which has the T4 Show shirt. I sent Colm his shirts yesterday, so he should be wearing them very soon.
Very cool. Very cool. That's it, guys. You can follow us on Twitter at GFQ Network. You could also follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. Show should be posted within a couple hours on our website. And that's it. We'll see you all next week on Tech News Weekly. Good night, everybody.